G'day everyone, Buck up in North Queensland with a real quick one. Listen, I've just been sent something that has fucking repulsed me. And I tell you what, I'm bloody fuming. And there's a lot of people out there, ex-military guys and probably current serving military people that aren't real happy either. Sit back and watch this and then we'll talk about it after we watch this. This was on Sky News. And it's in relation to the ADFA, Australian Defence Force Academy, which is the place that trains our future officers, our future Defence Force officers, Army, Navy and Air Force. And last Friday, they were basically told you're not to wear your uniform, that you are to wear purple in support of the LGBTIQA, B, C, D, E, F, G group. Every time they say that acronym, there's another couple of letters getting added to it. Talk more about that after we watch this. Okay, bear with me. This was on the Sky News, guys. Here we go.
If you missed it, Friday was Wear It Purple Day, which is an annual LGBTIQA plus awareness day where people choose to wear it purple should they feel like it, to support the movement, etc. and so on. Unless, of course, you're a cadet in our Australian military. Then, apparently, you have absolutely no choice. Here's Ben Fordham on 2GB this morning explaining.
Now, this was not a recommendation, it was an order. The ABC has obtained a copy of an email sent to Defence Force recruits. The directive says, and I quote, "Wearing of uniform tomorrow will be seen as an active protest against LGBTQIA+, which is not in line with defence policy." Can you believe that? Wearing your uniform is seen as a protest. Once upon a time, it was a requirement. Anyone in uniform will be required to explain why they have chosen to disobey a direct command from the commanding officer. So Defence Force recruits are going to be punished for wearing a Defence Force uniform. Are you serious?
Unbelievable. Now watch this. The absence of participating, the absence of celebrating this lifestyle, this day, etc. and so on, means now that you are actively opposing it. No, you can't just not participate. That says, according to this directive, that will be considered an active protest against LGBTIQA plus people. Now, we've seen this play out in schools over the years. This has been an awareness day that's played out in many ways across workplaces, in schools, little kids being made to feel left out if they're not wearing purple. What are you doing, etc. and so on. And here we see, keeping in mind our military is part of our government, basically. And this directive, goodness knows what kind of hierarchy it came from. But this is what young people now joining our military are being told. You will comply or you will be seen as an oppressor, as someone who is actively campaigning against.
If you were a foreign agent charged with infiltrating the Australian Defence Forces to sow discord and disharmony, I mean, you couldn't do a better job than we are doing to ourselves. The Chinese and the Russians, Caleb, must be laughing themselves to death over stuff like that. If you wear the Australian military uniform, you are disobeying orders.
Can you imagine Xi Jinping would have woken up this morning having his cornflakes and a cup of coffee and gone, this is the best story I've ever read in my life. Like when he finally decides to stage the invasion, we'll all just be standing there at the water's edge going, yeah, come on, Xi, no problem, just walk on straight in here.
Well, we'll be trying to work out what to wear.
The problem with this is that when you force someone to do something, it no longer means anything. Like they've actually shot themselves in the foot here by saying we're making this kind gesture to the LGBTIQA plus community to say we support you, we stand with you, whatever. But at the same time, you must do it which therefore means that the gesture of someone putting on the purple now means nothing. They're only doing it because they're told they have to do it. They're not doing it because they actually mean it, which means the whole thing means nothing.
In fact, it's worse than meaning nothing because it's totally counterproductive, because a day that was set up to provide encouragement for LGBTQ youth now becomes a controversial day that causes more division than it does inclusion.
Yeah, and of course, where does that leave Christian cadets, Muslim cadets, anyone of faith is going to go, well, what do I do now, etc. and so on. It's a deliberate alienating of people who think differently and who are more than happy for others to have a Wear It Purple Day, but can't participate for their own reasons.
Live and let live. And I suppose if you don't wear a poppy on Remembrance Day, you must hate our fallen soldiers as well. We'll see how that goes over at the ADF.
Dear, oh dear. Can you believe that shit? I can't. I got sent that to me about half an hour ago from a mate. He said, check this shit out, Buck. And I just thought, no, this is not on, guys. It is not on. I'm going to backtrack. They said something in there about, and they even said it there, that they jam it down kids' throats at school. There is no room at school for that shit. When kids leave school, they soon work out their sexual preferences and, you know, start becoming sexually active in that. And if they want to be heterosexual or homosexual, gay, lesbian, whatever it is, that's their choice. But we shouldn't be ramming it down children's throat at school. It is fucking disgusting as far as I'm concerned. Let me just say, I've got nothing against gay people, guys. Absolutely nothing. I've got no problem with it. But I have got a problem with this shit. Jamming it down children's throat, and teachers and all these do-gooders fucking telling our children how their sexual preference should be in that. There's no room for that at school. The kids are there to learn and get an education, not to have shit rammed down their throat like that. I tell you what, I'm bloody glad if I heard my kids when they went to school. When my kids went to school, they didn't carry on with all this shit. Okay, and I certainly wouldn't have wanted my bloody kids when they were in grade 7 and 8 being told all about having this shit rammed down their throat, or even especially in primary school. I don't even know what it means. Like, let them be kids, let them grow up and they'll work it out for themselves. Now, listen, I keep going on about how woke the military's getting and all this type of stuff. There is no room for this shit in the Defence Force, Army, Navy or Air Force. And as I said, if someone in the Army or the Army, you know, the Navy, they want to be gay, lesbian, whatever, fucking poofter, whatever you want to call it, that's fine. But don't jam it down people's throats. Your sexual preferences bloody get put aside, and that's after hours shit. What you do after hours is your own business. I'll tell you now, there is no room for it in the military. No room for it all. ADFA, as I said, they're our future officers, guys. And from what they were saying there, the order not to wear military uniform has come from the CO, the commanding officer of ADFA. Now, is that his personal thing, or was he instructed from even higher? Has this gone all the way? Angus Campbell, Chief of Defence Force, who's putrid at the best of times, that guy. And like, I'd like to know how high that order came. And I'll tell you what, it's a bloody, and as young ADFA, young officers at the Defence Force Academy, you're like a recruit. You're like a recruit soldier. You keep your mouth shut. You can't have an opinion. You can't open your mouth. You're in training and that. So I'm sure a lot of them there were thinking, this is bullshit. This isn't on. And some of them sound like they've gone to the media. Good on them. But I'll tell you now, there is no room for this in the Defence Force. Ukrainian soldiers at the moment are over there fighting for their country, losing their lives in brutal combat. And here's the Australian Army carrying on with this fucking bullshit, this absolute woke bullshit. And as I said, whatever your sexual preference is, that's fine. Leave it at the gate. Don't bring it into work. Okay? As far as transgender and all that shit, as far as I'm concerned, there's no room for that in the Defence Force whatsoever. The transgender side of things. That doesn't even make it to Defence Force. That shit is weakening our country. The people making these decisions are weakening our country, and the officer or the officers that made these decisions should be frigging ashamed of themselves. Our Anzacs must be rolling over in their graves at the moment if they could see what was going on. It is fucking disgraceful. Telling soldiers they can't wear their uniform and that they have to wear purple to support basically a minority group. All right, we don't need to support them. That's not what the Defence Force is there for. It's not there for all this woke bullshit. And as they keep saying they're there to do a job. The military is there to defend this country. And I tell you now, things aren't looking good around the world at the moment, are they? There's a lot of shit going on. And I tell you what, at any time now, someone just needs to light a spark near Taiwan, and we're going to be dragged into it, guys, whether we like it or not, okay? And we have to be ready to go. And I'll tell you what, if we go into a big full-on stoush at the moment, the Australian Defence Force is going to get its ass fucking handed to it, because over the last, I don't know, I've been out 20 years, guys. We didn't carry on with this shit when I was in. It was bloody tough, and we trained, and there were lesbians and homosexuals in the army when I was there. They pretty well kept to themselves. They didn't really come out about it, but no one really cared. All right, what they did in their own time was their business. But now it's just getting rammed down everyone's throat, and everyone is having a go. We need to jack up about this. We need to jack up about it. These minority groups are just jamming their shit down our throat, and we shouldn't have to fucking take it. I've had a gutful of it, especially when it starts affecting the Defence Force and affecting the capability that they have to defend this country. It is not on. You know, you got the Chief of the Defence Force and that, from the very as high as it can go, they're all out after our bloody Special Forces guys who are over killing fucking terrorists in Afghanistan, guys, the SAS boys. It just, to me, seems like the SAS boys are the only ones who've got any balls about them now that can go out and actually get the job done, which is why that they sent them overseas 10, 12 deployments. Some of these guys did 10, 11, 12 deployments, because it seems like our Special Forces are the only ones who've got the balls big enough to go over and do the fucking job, because the rest of the Defence Force is woke as fuck. It's bullshit. It's pissing me off. I hope Kaz has to say on his channel about it as well. It's not on. And if anyone out there is homosexual or gay, lesbian, whatever it is, please don't take offence to this. I'm not having a go at you personally. Not at all. And I'm not bloody homophobic or anything like that. But and I saw it in my last job, guys, in corrections. All these friggin' lesbians that were sent, you know, they send out emails directing this and directing that, and on the bottom of their thing is the rainbow flag, okay, and saying, oh, I do this, and they're walking around with their rainbow flags on their fucking uniforms. It's like, this isn't the place to be parading rainbow flags. We're dealing with fucking prisoners, and you're prancing around with your rainbow flags on your fucking vests and all the hierarchy, putting the rainbow flags on the bottom of their fucking emails when they saying do this and do that. And where's the Aussie flag on the bottom of their emails? It just pisses me off. This shit is creeping in, and it's creeping into the Defence Force, and it's creeping into our schools. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you disagree with me, I'm prepared to argue with you. All right? And if you haven't been in the army and you disagree with me, don't say a fucking word, or I'll bloody, because it won't be nice, my reply to you. You're not in a position to comment if you haven't been it. If you've been in the military and you agree with what's just happened, I'll be interested to hear. I don't think there'll be too many people in the military that agree with it. I'll tell you now. And as I said, our Anzacs will be rolling over in their grave. Anyway, I've had what I wanted to say. I'm just disgusted with the way our Defence Force and the way our country's going. It starts from the Prime Minister down. We've got a Prime Minister that's woke as fuck. All right, he's a fucking do-gooder. He's bowing down to all the minority groups, and he's losing track of the major things that are going on in this country. He's worrying about what we used to say in the army, poodle fucking shit, little superfluous shit, and the big stuff's not being addressed. And it's pissing me off. The fucking cost of living and all that type of stuff. And they're worrying about fucking all this other shit going on. And I'll tell you now, the commanding officer of ADFA, fucking, you're a germ. Whoever you are, you're a fucking disgrace. Hand your uniform in, hand your man card in, and get the fuck out of the Defence Force, because you don't belong there. Nor do you, Campbell, bloody Chief of Defence Force. You're a fucking pathetic excuse of a man as well.